In the, like, guys, when you're in different ranks, sometimes these tier lists can get flipped on their heads. Like, as you're climbing, I'm talking exclusively facing Celestial 1 lobbies in top 500 on PC. Luna, still, in my opinion, the best support. If you're really solid with Luna, 12 seconds of almost invulnerability, has a freeze to stop dive, does good damage, has unlimited range, and her empowered auto attack state is really good still. Freeze is super good. Her does good damage, is essentially hit scan, like really strong. Can be played at a mile away. Like a lot of the best Lunas will hide in the back corners of maps and like heal their team from a mile away, instant healed, like and just don't play her very close. And if they get dived, they freeze, and you know they work around it from there on. But really strong. Number 2 and 3, and these ones can be interchanged. So I'm gonna put them both up, and I'll talk about them at the same time. It's gonna be Loki and Invis. Both of them having a unique ability that is invaluable, right? Loki has crystals, right? Crystals are invaluable. They can shut down ultimates. And, just essentially a reset button for anyone that's in trouble and your entire team. Loki has a ton of burst healing when you play him properly, and he does really good damage, and he's one of the few people that shut down things like Captain America, who is insanely strong right now, and Venom, because if you have your clones out that you get dove, you use crystals, and then you use 3 clones to fight back who's fighting you, you win that trade a lot of the time. If you're struggling with a Captain America and they ban Namor, you need to have a Loki or you will lose the game. And that's why he's so good. You know how I said Loki crystals are invaluable? Invis's push is invaluable. I said like Loki's so good because his crystals shut down ultimates. So does Invisible Woman's push. It can shut down big ultimates in the game. Example, like Doctor Strange. At the top ranks, Invis are never going to use their push. When they know Strange is getting close to ult, they're just going to sit there and wait. And when they hear, by the boom, they throw him 600 yards away. And then you just hear, as he just flies a mile away and gets no one. It's so annoying as somebody who plays Doctor Strange. Yeah, exactly. It's the bane of my existence. Her ult's still really good. 8 seconds of healing. You know, you can see people through it. It's strong. It works well with like Punisher Ultimate to keep him in there, and they don't know where he's looking through. It's a really good ult still. She can get bursted in her ult, but so can virtually everyone besides like Luna. She's so hard to take out in her ult. She's the hardest by far. Got self-survivability with invisibility, got the push and pull, got some damage, and good burst healing. The problem with her is the lack of range, right? So you have to put yourself in more risky positions, but we're not here to talk about how hard it is to be good with these characters. We're here to talk about why they're so good. This is where I struggle because I truly do think Mantis in the right hand, but you really are reliant with Mantis to have burst healing. You can't do Mantis Cloak nearly as much as you could do something like Mantis Luna or you know, like you just need with Mantis. Her healing it's nice and all, but it's so sustained and slow that it's a pain. But her enablement, like how much she can enablement, that's definitely not a word. Her ability to enable DPS, especially at high ranks DPS that can and will hit shots like that they need to, makes her, you know, like second to none. Like she would be in S tier, honestly. I struggle to put her in S tier because they slightly nerfed her movement speed and made her a little more annoying, a little less annoying. But she is a DPS in and of herself, and she can enable your DPS to pop off. So I'll put her in the highest of A's, I think. Adam got a big buff, but Adam is so bad until you get to the highest ranks. Like people like Adam is like really bad in low ranks because people waste his Soul Link. And Soul Link got a buff, and it's just really good against dive. If you're really good with Warlock and you know how to pump out damage, like there was one Warlock I played in Celestial that was obscenely good and like just knew how to do damage, like was playing super risky, was making sure they Soul Linked at the right times when they were diving, and then would just battle the dive and just headshot nonstop whoever was diving him, and then right-clicking everyone and just exploding people. So I would say, and this is going to get a little weird, these two are interchangeable. Warlock and Cloak. Cloak got a little bit of a nerf, still really strong. And her ults, it's tough to take their ult out with Magneto now. They move so fast, and it's a pain in the ass. The nerf is pretty substantial when in terms of like, they can't stack their ult anymore. So it's really just 10 seconds from the final dash is all they have of healing. And it's still in that smaller window, but it is nice to be able to take space with it. I find that she still gets bursted. People understand that a Widow with a damage boost from Mantis, a Hawkeye, a decent Punisher in ult, they can all take out Cloak mid ultimate. So Cloak is still killable for sure. Killable for sure. So I it's tough. Like this is not going to make sense to people until they get to stupid high ranks. And then we're going to go to these two, okay? There's a lot more battle Jeffs nowadays. There's a glitch with Jeff right now where you can auto reload instead of having to do your reload animation when you have Luna on the field. But I'm not even going to include that in my discussion with him because that's going to get changed. So in the highest ranks, a lot of Jeffs pretty much just play Jeff DPS. And they pop ult and they get wipes with it, and it's dope. And that's awesome that you can do that, right? Like that is a W that you can pop off with Jeff DPS, be super annoying, never get KO'd, and then ult the whole team. But they've been slowly introducing ways that Jeff can't do shit to people. Like Jeff can't, like once people start climbing ranks, including people now like The Thing, who's actually really good into Jeff because his right click takes Jeff out in 2 swings, essentially, especially like when Jeff is vulnerable in the middle of his ult. The Thing also can't get sucked up into the ultimate. So as they slowly introduce more ways for Jeff ult to be less impactful, Jeff falls off the deep end. Jeff is no longer nearly as good as he was as they introduce ways for you to avoid that ultimate, because that ultimate is just a ton of value. Getting a big ult with Jeff and throwing jumping off the map with a bunch of people is game winning. And that's still the case, and it'll always happen. But, as they keep introducing more and more ways to counter that, Jeff is just not great. And in terms of a strategist for your team, he's played more like a DPS now. So as a strategist, I'm putting him in B. Rocket, I'm going to put before Jeff, honestly. And here's what I have to say about Rocket. If there is a good Punisher on your team, and I mean good Punisher, like a Punisher that understands 2 things. One, that when there's unlimited ammo, you go to town and you crack shields. I don't even care if you're pumping into the front line, crack Strange Shield. And number 2, destroy Groot walls. If there's a Groot on their team, Rocket Punisher is second to none to having on your team. Rocket Punisher is Groot's biggest problem, and Groot is in an insanely strong state right now. I also think that Rocket scooches up a lot when there's a good Punisher on the team, like a lot. But for now, here's what I'll say. Without a Punisher, Rocket has his res, and as you climb ranks, people just find that. They know the spots. And they just destroy it, like your divers, like Magic, Psylocke, like they're just going to go destroy that. And then what does he do better than anyone else? Nothing. He does nothing better than anyone else, and not bursty at all. And then he has a little bit of escapability. So I'll give him that. That is true. His escapability is good against dive. If you're really struggling against dive and you can't play some of the people that are good into dive, like Mantis, Warlock, and Loki, then yeah, you play Rocket. Unlimited ammo is really good. And his ult's all right. I will say that even at my ranks, people aren't using the ult to the best extent. Like, I want to start doing things like with Venom ult, where I jump in with Venom and Rocket essentially yeets his ult near me, and I insta-kill the backline with Venom, but that still doesn't even happen in these ranks. 12 seconds of vulnerability, has the freeze to anti-dive, really strong ability. Has the crystal for your flyers, and yeah, man, just has hit scan, has almost unlimited range, and can go into her shift form where she does a ton of damage and heals insanely fast for burst. Really good burst healing. Like, it's exactly what you want in a support. Luna's still best by far. These two are interchangeable in 1 and 2 slot. Loki, really good anti-dive, really good right now into the meta of dive at the highest ranks, where Cap is disturbingly good. Hulk, Venom, Spider-Man combos are just insane. Loki is one of the very few people in the game that can shut that down and be a menace for them. If you have a Cap against you that's messing up your backline and you don't have Namor because he gets banned for some reason, you need to pick Loki or you will lose. That's just unfortunately the situation we're in right now with how much lack of anti-dive is in the game. Okay. Number 2/3 combination again, Invis. Loki also has crystals, which is the best ability in the game besides an ultimate. Invis, similar situation to Loki, has one of the best abilities in the game outside of the ultimate with push and pull. Pull's really good for securing kills. Push is good for getting you point and stopping ultimates like Doctor Strange coming from the sky. The best Invis women in the game are going to hold that push until somebody's about to ult and yeet them a mile away. Negating an ultimate is a huge win for your team. Really good, great ultimate as well. Okay, so these three are up there. Mantis has potential to be up here, but the problem with Mantis is she cannot be a really strong tank, support 1. Has no burst healing, has a ton of sustained heals. Ult is good, and the fact that you can enable your DPS is insanely good, and it can help you win games. And she herself is very strong, really good into dive. But if you're leading with a Mantis Jeff, like I've seen in some of these games, there'll be like a Mantis Jeff or Mantis Rocket, and you lose those games guaranteed. There's no burst healing on your team, so that's why she has to stay in A. Because you need to have some sort of burst main healer with her. And she can go off and run with a Namor and run with a Punisher and just make sure, and a Hela, and just enable them at all times and just make them ridiculous and just carry games. And that's totally fine. He got a big buff Warlock, his Soul Link is one of those abilities besides these two that's up there with being the best strategist and or abilities in the game. Soul Link essentially makes you impossible to dive, but it's a very long cooldown, and in low ranks, they waste the ever-loving shit out of it. People are really bad with Warlock until the very top ranks, like very top ranks. He's good in the 3 support comps. He's actually a lot better now in 2 support comps now that supports don't just run the world as much with the support ultimates. He is insanely good against dive, although it sounds counterintuitive because he's got a poke comp. If you can hit your shots and hit your right clicks onto people that are diving you and you Soul Link before they do, you will carry the game. Yeah, as much, right, Scrim? Because the support ults are still crazy. Where are you putting Thor after his cooldown buff? I still think he's in B with both the brawl tanks, him and Thor, or him and the Thing. Even though I love playing them both, I think they're dope. I mean, they're still absolutely playable in the highest ranks. I just think that Poke right now, or Brawl struggles because Poke is so strong. Brawl's good into dive, which is awesome, but Poke, like I said, Hella Hawk are back, and at the highest ranks, they don't miss your head, dude. And Thor and Thing die in 4 headshots. All right, still moving forward. Cloak and Dagger, a little bit of a nerf, still good. Still pretty good. I mean, honestly, the blind is dope. The damage boost, the purple is so good. Like, that's a slept on ability. Like, being able to just purple an entire team and allow your team to win a team fight is a huge value. I think these two are interchangeable as well. Like, the nerf hurt them because the stacking was so insane and how fast they got their ult was so insane, but it's still strong. They're very hard to take out of ult now because of how fast they rotate in between each dash. Still really good support, staying in A tier, but, you know, it's just not as good as they were. Rocket and Jeff. Rocket, if he has a Punisher, can go anywhere on this tier list if the Punisher's good enough. Rocket enables him to win games. It's essentially a, hey, you win button. If the Punisher is somebody who does not miss heads, and as you climb ranks, that will happen. People, you'll face Punishers that you have to play cover, and if you don't, you're dead. And that will eventually happen. You got to realize, like, you may be, let's say right now you're in the metal ranks and you're like, I just faced the nastiest Punisher last night, okay? Imagine if that Punisher, you know what I mean? Imagine that kind of Punisher, but them being now in Celestial or in top 500. Them headshotting you every 3 shots and them me thinking that's a problem. Imagine them never missing your head and you questioning if they're hacking level of good. And they're not hacking. They're just fucking really good. Rocket has res. If the teams get smart enough to understand res locations and they break res with something like Psylocke Magic, Rocket has nothing that differentiates him to make him better than any of these supports above him. That is just the actual fact. He has slow sustained heals, similar to Mantis. Battle Jeff is the way now. As a support, Jeff isn't really a good support, like by any means. But people play Jeff as a DPS now, and at the highest ranks, they do it really well and effectively. And there's a couple Jeffs that I've played with that have won us the game, for sure. I'll admit that. So Battle Jeffs are just like a machine gun, and they get ultimate faster because they're dealing damage instead of healing, and then they pop ult and try to get a team wipe. The problem is, every single new character, all these new things, like, for example, Invisible Woman has a jump that gets her out of Jeff ult pretty easily. A Thing, all he has to do is use Yancey Street Charge. Jeff can't eat him anymore. Like, every new character seemingly has a way to deal with Jeff, which just slowly drops Jeff because his entire value is his ultimate. But yes, Jeff DPS is definitely a thing that's been happening a lot more in the high ranks.